Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist, brought to you by One Pitch. The guests on our show include some of the most notable journalists from the top US-based publications who cover topics including technology, lifestyle and culture, health, science, consumer products, business news, and beauty and wellness. We discuss their role, the types of stories they cover, what their inbox looks like, and how they connect with sources. On the podcast today, we're joined by Meghan Walbert, a managing editor at Lifehacker. She is also the co-host of the Upgrade podcast by Lifehacker, a podcast that shares insights about how to upgrade your life. During the episode, Meghan shares the perspective Lifehacker takes on breaking news stories, how she funnels sources to her team of writers, her process for responding to pitches, and more. Let's hear from Meghan now.
Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with the Journalist. I'm Beck Bamberger. I have an agency named BAM that works with all these crazy venture-backed startups. And then I helped create One Pitch, which is the producer of this great podcast, to help publicists get to journalists in a not annoying way, which is the whole point of why we have this show, to talk with real journalists, have them help us out, understand what they like, what they don't like, what they read, where's journalism going, all these great things. Today here, as you all heard at the top of the show, is with us Meghan Walbert. She's the managing editor of Lifehacker, great publication, highly recommend. It's owned by Gizmodo Media, as we know. Meghan, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Beck. Thanks for having me.
And you also have a podcast.
Yes.
The Upgrade.
The Upgrade.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's the podcast produced by the team at Lifehacker.
Mm-hmm.
It's me and my co-host, Jordan Calhoun, who's Lifehacker's editor-in-chief.
Yep.
And we really tackle, productivity stuff. It's what it sounds like. It's how to upgrade your life in basically every capacity. And we interview oftentimes experts, authors, to see if we can, help everybody just improve those little things in their life that can always use improving.
Indeed. So you kind of answered pretty much what Lifehacker is about, but for those who don't, give us a little bit more of the pitch and the spin on what you do cover versus what you don't as Lifehacker overall. Then we'll get into your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're really a productivity and lifestyle website.
Mm-hmm.
Our tagline is "Do everything better."
I like it.
And so that's really how we approach every single post that we publish. It's what sets us apart from a lot of other digital media is, we're not necessarily covering news. We're using the news to inform the topics that we would write about, but we always want to come at it from a service journalism standpoint. So, for example, let's say there's like a big earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other publications and a lot of other news outlets are covering the news of that earthquake and how many people are affected and, what aftershocks that are coming next. Whereas we would say, okay, there's been an earthquake. Maybe we're going to write a post about how do you stay safe during an earthquake? What kind of survival kit could you put together to prepare if you live in a place that's prone to earthquakes?
Mm-hmm.
How could you help the victims of this particular earthquake? So we always come at it from, what's the service angle? What can we do to help people to solve a problem and really approach it? Oftentimes if we're not sure if a story is right for us, we'll say, what's the hack? What's the takeaway?
What's the hack? Yes.
Yeah.
I do appreciate too, it is like a self-directed, what can you the person do about X in this situation in life? So for those people who are like, what do I do? What can I do? It's a great outlet for that, for sure.
Yeah. And there's always, we cover everything from food to technology to parenting, home ownership topics. It's one of those sites that you can go to and, you're going to see all kinds of different topics across the homepage, but you're going to find something that speaks to you.
Take a look around, everybody. Okay, Meghan, what's your inbox like?
So my inbox, I am one of those people who I don't read every email, but I at least read it or I delete it every day. So I will end the day with not an inbox zero in terms of there are no emails in there, but
yeah,
in terms of it'll all be read or discarded as necessary. So I get a lot of pitches that just aren't right for me or right for Lifehacker in general, because I'm the managing editor at Lifehacker now. I'm not writing on a daily basis anymore, but I'm often feeding, topics and pitches to our writers. And a lot of this stuff, so I saved some to kind of give you an idea of what I mean.
Oh, for us right here, right now?
Yeah, so this is just from today, and it's been driving me crazy. So as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to be going through and deleting a bunch of these. But
Okay,
to give you an idea,
great.
so I get a lot of product pitches, and we're really not a website that's
Yeah.
going to tout specific products very often, unless it's something that we personally use all the time and really, really love.
And it helps with the hack, I imagine, too.
Yeah, right. It's from personal experience and really enjoying this one particular thing, but we're not going to accept a bunch of free samples and write about products. It's just not what we do.
Yeah.
So I've got, in my inbox, 7 products for your at-home fitness journey. I've got a lot of emails about so and so joins such and such organization
What?
as such and such title. So I've got somebody who just joined the
Just general announcements.
Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. Like,
No,
not relevant.
you're on some mass distro list of gazillion people.
I am. I get weird surveys.
Oh.
Like, this survey says 80% of kids won't watch the big game until they've finished their homework.
Huh?
It's just, so it's a lot of that. So I know there are some journalists who open every email, and I just can't fathom it, because some of these are just, they're very clearly.
There are some per on this show, which is why
Yeah.
we then get into the subject line, because that's your key to get
Right.
the email open. So then do you make it, are you just subject lines? Are you just going the skim of the subject line?
I am. So for things like that, like those surveys and I've got
You didn't even open it.
I got an email from Porsche. Like, it's just not. So I will go through and I will delete those. Now, if I'm not sure, if I can't tell from a subject line, I will open it and read it. But for the most part, I'm pretty good at reading the subject lines. And for the most part, I'm sure things slip through the cracks, but for the most part, I can kind of tell what might appeal and what's definitely not going to appeal.
Now, interestingly, you said if you don't know and it sounds ambiguous, you're going to open it. Is that right?
I do.
Oh, wow.
Most of the time, unless I'm really in a rush and just feeling like I need to clear stuff out. But yeah, if I'm not sure, I will. And if it's a name I recognize because it's somebody that I've worked with before, I will always open that.
Got it.
But yeah, just a one-off from a name I don't recognize that is very clearly not for me, I will just delete.
Also, I think something important to distinguish is you are a managing editor. You're not a reporter who's necessarily churning out the stories and doing that. So tell us a little bit more about your role and how you funnel pitches to the right people. What's that process like?
Yeah. So, we have like a morning pitching meeting every day from 9 to 10 a.m. And it's informal. It's just over Slack. But, we will basically all be skimming the news. We will all be going through our inboxes and just pitching ideas. So we've got a writer who writes exclusively health content. We've got a food writer. We've got a technology writer. And so we will all be going through. It's my responsibility as much as it is their responsibility to be going through the news of the day and seeing what we might want to write about.
Mm-hmm.
What I often funnel to our writers more than anything are sources. So my favorite
Oh.
emails to get, I don't love a pitch that has a specific angle so much, because until you've worked at Lifehacker for a long time, it's hard to hone in on that Lifehacker angle. And we've just gotten really good at it. So I don't necessarily want people pitching me specific angles, because I'm always going to be better at that, I think, than the PR person is, just because I'm so immersed in the Lifehacker ethos. What I like is pitch me a source. Say, I've got a child psychologist who, is an expert in anxiety in children 5 and younger.
There you go.
And then I'll start to think, oh, okay, how could I use this person? Like, that sounds like somebody that could be, could talk on any number of topics that we might write about. So I really love, or like if there's something, some big news event that happens, pitch me an expert, and then I'll find the angle. I'll figure out, and we might even write multiple pieces. So that's usually what I'm funneling to our writers most often is, here's a source I think might be good for the next time you're writing about diet culture or something like that.
Got it. Okay. So sources. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit more about that on some kind of preferences and stuff. Do you ever get pitches for an exclusive?
Not typically exclusives.
That doesn't make sense for Lifehacker.
Yeah, because we're not really, we don't break news
Exactly.
in the
Okay.
traditional. I do
Got it.
get a lot of embargoes.
Oh, and how do you feel about those?
I love embargoes. I will always say yes to an embargo simply because sometimes it's just out of curiosity to see, you don't know what they're going to send you. So I see no reason to turn one down
Okay.
because and a lot of times it is things that we will, particularly if there are things around like popular apps that are maybe coming out with new security features for kids or, things like that. Like we're definitely going to be interested in because there's a real service angle to that where we can say, as soon as the embargo lifts and we can write about it and, give people the step-by-step instructions for how to implement this new feature so that their kids can be safer online. Things like that are always going to be interesting to us. So I always say yes to embargoes.
Okay. Thumbs up on embargoes. What about, especially since you just looked at some emails that came fresh today, maybe there's one that fits this, but what is the best subject line you've ever seen?
Oh, best subject line.
Or we'll take one that you've seen recently, because that's a big ask.
Expert commentary. Mistakes millennials and Gen Zers are making with their money.
Hmm.
So I like that because number one, it tells me there's an expert voice in this, which is going to be important for me. And also it's an angle that I haven't thought about before. Money is a topic that we cover. So the
Yeah.
combination of knowing there's an expert voice in this, plus it's an interesting angle we maybe haven't covered before, that was one that I starred as come back and read this later. Cause I'll do that a lot. If I'm just going through and trying to wait out what's going to work for me, what's not going to work for me. A lot of times if I keep it unread in my inbox, that's my own personal flag to myself to come back and read it later.
Oh, okay. And that one was quite crisp and neat.
Yeah.
Expert about what? Here you go.
Yep.
Fits the outlet. I like it.
Yeah. And I like it because it's clear, it's very
It is
clear
clear. Yeah.
with what's going to be inside. It's not making you guess. It grabs you kind of right away.
I like it. Okay. Meghan, we always like to talk about how do stories come to life, especially as a managing director. Director. We have managing directors at BAM, managing editor, at Lifehacker, and you still do stories yourself. So recently you've been doing a lot of roundups of like, favorite apps of 2021 and best movies and all this stuff. But like a story like this, the best places to hide Christmas gifts that you've never thought of. How does that story like that come about for you? Like, is there a place where you brainstorm, or is it like, I show up on that daily Slack and we chat and then I think of something?
It's mostly the latter. It's mostly, we do a lot of brainstorming and a lot of times, we knew for that particular one, I think we knew we wanted to do something about, the struggle that parents have where whether you're doing Santa or not doing Santa, how you're having those conversations. We've kind of written a lot about that. So it was like, well, but there's this the stress
new?
around the gifts and where do you put them? And do they know what your hiding spot is? And do they know that it's just off limits? So, we kind of talk through those types of things. And then the angle just kind of comes out. Well, we've never, everybody knows the obvious hiding places under the bed in the hallway closet, but what are the unique places that we can really kind of trick our kids and they never think to look? So yeah, it's a lot of conversation that we have. And it's also just, life around us is inspiration, especially for a site like Lifehacker, where you are seeking to solve little daily annoyances and you are yourself walking through life having all these daily annoyances. And so how are you solving them? So a lot of times my husband has kind of become known for coming up with household hacks.
Oh, really?
Because whenever we're having a light day, my editor will say, well, what does your husband have today? And I'll go ask him and he'll say, oh, you know what? One of the best ways to remove light snow is to get one of the brooms with like the rough bristles and sweep the snow off your porch instead of try to shovel it up. So he's become known for that.
Look at him.
Because he just did that, maybe the day before. So he's like, I'll tell you what's top of mind. I just solved a problem yesterday. And so it's especially for a Lifehacker, I feel like the angles are they're everywhere.
I love that you tapped the husband. Way to go, hubby. Getting in with a job, supporting my life.
Desperate times call for desperate measures,
There you go. There you go.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by OnePitch. Are you curious to see the unique ways One Pitch helps PR professionals and marketers pitch journalists? Head to onepitch.co to learn about our new One Pitch score and see how easy it is to find the right journalist to pitch your news to. Sign up for your free account today. Now, back to today's episode.
Okay, Megan, we have a fill in the blank here. So I will tee you up with the phrase and then you could fill it in from there. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay. My favorite sources always.
My favorite sources always come to me with a deeper understanding of a topic than I could possibly have. I want to learn from my sources. That's one of my favorite things about being a journalist is that I don't have to focus my career on any one particular topic. I get to learn about all kinds of stuff. So I love a source who just can bring so much knowledge and teach me things.
You'll never get a response from me
if you follow up 4 times.
Ooh, is 4 the number for you?
Or yeah, I start to get annoyed at 3. 2 is fine because
Two,
sometimes
I'm like, that's cool.
Two
That's
is fine. Sometimes I need that nudge, and sometimes I appreciate the follow up.
Yeah.
3, I'm starting to be like, okay, if I didn't answer the first 2 times, it's probably a no. And then by the 4th time, I will remember your name and I will not open your emails again.
I've been thinking about this earlier this week, and I just want to mention this because I can only imagine how it is as a reporter. And I do some little like contributing stuff and people bug me and I'm like, ugh. But I was just sitting with this yesterday thinking, God, what is it that triggers for me like just this like annoyance as soon as you feel like you're being bugged?
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk to my business coach about that. But I don't know. It's such a visceral, like, oh, you want something from me and now you're bugging me. And I owe you nothing. That's the other thing. It's like, it's not because, oh, I forgot to do something I said I would do. Now that's fine. That's more like embarrassing. But I was just contemplating that. And so is it like annoyance for you? Or are you just like, oh, yeah, bye-bye.
It's annoyance for me. And I think it's because
What is that?
I think it's because I don't want to come off as rude by not responding to an email. I hate that I don't have the time to respond to every email.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like there should be sort of that mutual understanding that if I'm interested, I will respond after the first 2. And me not responding is not in any way meant to be rude, but after 2 or 3 times, it's kind of, and I know some people are just, maybe they've just got a quota they have to meet and they just have to show that they've sent out
Yes.
so many emails,
Ugh,
but
how
it's
awful.
just, there's already so much in my inbox that to just have the same thing show up more than 3 times becomes
It's
a
not
burden.
good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Don't do it, people. Don't do it. Yeah, I kind of wonder about that quota. Like, really? Who do you have to show? Where do you work where you have to show like your sent inbox? I don't know. Get a new job.
Yeah, and especially when they're not good, like sometimes,
That's the thing.
yeah, especially if it's something that you can tell is going out to a big list of it's not individualized for Lifehacker.
Yeah.
And it's just clearly not a good fit. I mean, to spend 2 minutes on Lifehacker's website, you could tell it would not be a good fit. So it just feels like you're spamming me at that point.
Okay. The appropriate amount of lead time for a story is.
It doesn't have to be much for us. We are writing, I know a lot of publications are working, their editorial calendars pretty far in advance. We're just not. We're really a daily publication. So we decide that morning what we're writing for that day. So everything for that day is and we do have evergreen topics that every writer has a list of evergreen topics that, if they're not sure what they want to write about, or there's not something pegged to something that's, happening culturally at the moment, then they'll pick an evergreen topic. But for the most part, you could pitch me something today and we could have it up by this afternoon. So we do a pretty quick turnaround.
Wow, that's fantastic. Good to know. Some people are like on here going like, 10 days, I would like all these things. Okay.
That feels like forever to me, 10 days.
That does sound quite. Okay. My favorite stories to write are?
My favorite stories to write are the stories where I feel like readers come away with something really actionable that they can do to improve some facet of their lives. So I really like the stories that I've written the most, that I have enjoyed the most, I call them big talks, posts, and they were, I was the parenting editor before I was the managing editor.
Yeah.
And so I wrote the majority of the site's parenting content for a couple of years. And I would do these big talks where, any given topic, how do you talk to your kids about it? Not just one time, but basically over the course of their childhood. So that would be, anything from, the obvious ones like sex and drugs and,
Yeah.
to stuff like
The obvious ones.
the obvious one, to stuff like, misogyny, going a little deeper, white supremacy,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All those. And I love to dive into those and feel like I can give parents a blueprint for how to navigate things like that without feeling like you've got one shot at it. And if I mess up this one shot, then I just have kind of screwed it up and there's no going back. I like readers to have that takeaway of, what, even if I haven't been getting this right, maybe from the beginning, I can course correct right now and I can, do better in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now people know what you like to write about. The best compliment I received about my work was?
I had somebody create, so the platform, our CMS is called Kinja. And in order to comment, you have to, sign up for an account, create a username. And I had somebody who I had written a piece. It was sometime during, maybe halfway through the pandemic up to this point. I think it was a piece that was something about just how, like, if you're struggling right now, it's okay. Like, we're all, every parent out there is struggling to some degree. And, it's almost like we're not even supposed to be talking about it anymore. This person, the best compliment I think I have gotten is that this person said they were in tears. They felt so validated that they actually created a Kinja account just so that they could comment and thank me.
Oh my gosh.
There's no better feedback than that, to know that you
Oh my
impacted
gosh.
somebody that deeply and they felt seen and heard through your words. It's a really remarkable thing.
Oh, that is wonderful. That's like, yeah, someone really cared to get on that account and do that. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's one of the best answers I've heard so far on here.
Oh, good.
Meghan, what are you reading, listening to, watching? However you consume a story, we want to hear.
Okay, so right now I feel like I am
Yeah, what do you like?
everything I'm consuming that's not work and news related just has to be really light for me right now.
Yeah.
I need like a little escapism.
Yes.
So, okay, so what I'm reading,
What you got?
I'm reading a book called The Gunkle,
By who?
like the gay uncle, The Gunkle,
Got
and
it.
it's by
Okay.
Stephen Rowley. And it was a Christmas gift from my mom, who read it and said it's just like such a light, it's like a beach read, but it's in the middle of winter, so it's even better.
Oh, got it.
It's a sweet story. The dialogue is just some of the wittiest, funnest, lightest dialogue that I've read in a long time. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm like
Fun.
at the point where
Fun.
there's like maybe a quarter of the book left and I don't want to finish it because then it's done. Like when
Oh,
you
I
read one
hate
of
that
those.
when you get to the, oh yeah. You're
Yeah,
like,
you want
dang
to
it.
end.
Wait, how do you spell his last name? He's not coming up on Audible.
It's Rowley.
Got you. Okay, here we go. Here we are. Oh, he's written Lily and the Octopus. Okay. He's written a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was excited
Dogs
because I've
of
never read
Venice.
this author before, and I thought, well, I'm getting more of him. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, people love his stuff. Okay. I love it. Great. Add to cart. Amazing. Anything else?
what I'm listening to right now, one of my favorite, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but one of my favorites is This Is Love, which is, it's hosted by Phoebe Judge, who also has the show Criminal that's been around for
Yes.
ages and ages. And I listen to Criminal and I love Criminal too. But then This Is Love is just the sweetest love stories, unexpected love stories. And she's such a great interviewer. So that's one of my favorites right now.
Love it.
And then I just started watching The Gilded Age because I loved Downton Abbey. And so there's
Yes.
just no question that.
How is it? Are people loving it?
Yeah,
There's so much content. I can't. It's like, oh God. Oh, it's on HBO too. They have the best stuff.
I watched the first episode last night
And
they referenced the little city that I live in. I live in Bethlehem,
oh, what?
Pennsylvania, and it just sort of was randomly mentioned as part of the story they were telling. And
Oh,
so
that's
I was like,
fantastic.
okay, yeah, we're doing
Hometown shout out.
it.
I love it. Okay, Megan, rather shifting, especially from something like the Gilded Age, what do you think the future of journalism looks like?
Oh, well, obviously I think about this a lot. And I don't know, there's obviously there's a shift to, much more digital media, newsletters. I don't feel supremely optimistic about the future of journalism, but it's so important that I think for me, the thing that I'm most concerned about is the loss of really good local news. And I'm thinking in particular of my local newspaper, which I is the only print publication I still get delivered, physical delivery. Everything else I'm, digital subscriptions. But this newspaper, I think about how throughout, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, they would have a little box on the front page every morning that showed what the new case counts were, what the hospitalizations were, how many ICU beds were open, and you could see in real time, very local look at how bad was bad. You could see the numbers
Yeah.
spike with the Delta variant, and then you could see the numbers kind of taper back off, and you could really, it was helpful in terms of helping you decide personally, what's my comfort level with doing XYZ, event or get together or restaurant outing or whatever, really by following not just what was happening across the country, but specifically within our county. I don't know, especially at the there are ways now to get that information, but especially at the beginning, we really relied on that. And to not have that look at what's happening locally and how it's affecting local businesses, and that would just be such a loss to the community. And so I worry because this paper has closed its office now. Everybody is permanently remote. They were bought up by a company that is known for sort of tearing papers like this apart, to shreds, just making whatever money they can off of them and then selling them off for pieces and parts. And, I worry a lot about that. So I always tell people, subscribe to your local paper because you don't realize what you're missing and the news that you're not getting until they're gone. And then it's too late.
There is something I'm thinking about, like being in Southern California. I was in Park City earlier this month, and it's like 7 degrees outside, horrible. And then you're in Southern California, it's 70 degrees. And you just think, oh yeah, of course. And I think the same with media so often, like, oh, of course, let me just Google that. And then there's some local reporter who did the story about the bridge down the street or whatever. And you're like, oh, now that's why that happened. But it's just such a given in at least this country of like, oh yeah, people know about it and someone reported it. And God, I hope that doesn't go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Because how are you going to know?
How you going to know?
Megan. Well, I don't know if we should end there with how you going to know. But what we will say, to bring it back to Lifehacker, if you don't know, I bet you can find it on Lifehacker. That's what I'd end with that.
That's right.
On that front. Go there. You will find it out. Megan, thank you so much for being here. This was an absolute delight. I love the insights you shared on what is Lifehacker and how you need to pitch it appropriately, tee up those experts, and write a damn good subject line, please.
That's right. We appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Thanks, Megan.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Coffee with a Journalist featuring Meghan Walbert from Lifehacker. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. And if you have a moment, please leave us a review to share thoughts about the show and today's guest. To learn more about the latest tools on OnePitch and to subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter, head to our website at onepitch.co. We'll see you all next week with a brand new guest and even more insights about the journalists you want to learn more about. Until then, start great stories.